Thank you for joining us today on New England Living. I'm your host, Rachel Holt. Up next, Gilda Miranda heads to the South Shore to learn about a truly one-of-a-kind project, merging oyster farming with the creature comforts of home, with Anna and Mark Boutillier, owners of Deluxbury Sea Farm.
Mark and Anna, thank you so much for having us in your space that Jess, your architect, helped you create. Tell us a little bit about how this came to be.
Well, we've been oyster farmers for many years, and we started our company, Deluxbury Sea Farm, 6 years ago. And it had gotten to the place where our tiny little barn that was on our property, it was very rudimentary, not antique, but just rudimentary, and we were operating out of it in the winters. And we realized we just had to finally get into a better space and a larger space, and one that our employees and all of us have enough room and comfortability to really do our jobs and to work through the harshest of our winter months.
In the farm business here, in the spring, summer, and fall months, we are so busy growing our farm and our oysters. We don't have time to do any maintenance on any of the boats because they're always in service and being used in a harsh environment out in the ocean. The only time for us to repair all these boats is in the winter. So it was really necessary for us to grow as a company to be able to maintain our fleet of boats, to have an indoor workspace. Turned out we needed a really large boat shop. That's where we turned to Jess, along with all of our other items on the checklist, and said, how can we get this done without this looking like a gigantic boat shop? We want it to look like a small New England barn to match the community, the neighborhood, and to match our house. Threw it on her lap and said, what can you do?
Well, I always enjoy a challenge. The interesting thing about this site is the main house is actually a very petite antique structure. We're trying to fit an oyster barn, a place for boat storage, an office space, and then a workshop and some other things into this structure. All of those things are quite large, and we didn't want it to compete with a very small petite house, which is just a lovely piece of the neighborhood. We were able to overcome those challenges by using the slope of the land and kind of hiding the main spaces in the back in a place where from the street side you really can't tell how large the structure actually is.
So you kept it traditional in front and kind of more modern in back.
Yeah, it is kind of a joke. There are plenty of architects that use the mullet term. So business in the front, party in the back, and that often has to do with the neighborhood context. So we knew on the back side of this property that big open windows, lots of light, different things like that would be completely acceptable visually from the backyard and from the neighbors. But from the street side, it was really important that we did not really change the context of the street. We wanted to make sure that the structure felt like it was always here. And I think we did a pretty good job making that happen.
Just being in here, it feels like you intentionally brought the outside in. Can you talk about the importance of integrating natural light in the space?
Absolutely. So natural light is one of the most important features in any architectural building. There's two reasons for that. One is natural light just makes us feel good, but there's also this connection to the exterior, and being able to see nature is a really important feature for well-being. The other piece of it is the boat storage facility, where Mark and Anna are working on boats all the time, and we wanted there to be as much natural light in that area as possible, just literally to be able to see what they're doing and what they're working on without it just being a bunch of ugly fluorescent lights everywhere.
How did you work together with Jess hand in hand to achieve everything you wanted and also stay within budget?
Well, Jess was the one that really brought up the idea of using elevate windows from Marvin, and I was the one who's a little reluctant, particularly when talking about a really large windows, the 6x6s, that we have a total of 12 or so in the whole building. And so we were a little intimidated by how that was going to look. Jess was like, go to Marvin at 7 Tide up in Boston, and I think it's gonna be a good exercise for you to really see what the windows are, what they would feel like and what they would look like, but then was able to project on the screen the true sizes of the windows.
And being able to sit in that living room space at Seventide and see the scale of the windows and understand specifically what you're getting. That is such a huge feature for me.
The barn space is anything but average. It's not what you'd envision when you think of a barn. Can you describe your space?
Yeah, this is definitely not your typical New England barn. We'd like to think of it as a multi-use building that still has a lot of barn aspects, where we still do a lot of the things that you would do in a barn, work on boats and work on cars and whatever. But a more modern version where we've got some nice living space above it, and it looks like a traditional barn from the street.
There was a lot of things that we talked about, and my take on all of it was to make sure that we're really thinking about the people that will be in the space and how their comfort will be either enhanced or detracted if there was a poor design. So I think the way that we focused on the design was really all about making sure it was comfortable for not only Mark and Anna, but for their full staff.
That's why this shop downstairs is so important. We don't have a place in the freezing cold months to work. To have this space where it's a modern facility with heated floors and the walk-in cooler enables us to continue through the year to sell oysters every day.